Hello everyone. I know it has been quite a while since my last video, which was my birth story. Very long, very detailed, but it was what happened, and I know a lot of people were asking me about it, and so I'm glad I was able to make that. And a lot of you guys said like how much it helped you, and that just makes it all worth it. I'm so happy that it was able to help somebody or just make somebody feel like they weren't alone. That like my whole goal is to just help people and point them to Jesus. So in this video, there's a lot more hope. There is a lot more light. Really super quick, I'm gonna give an extremely short history if this is the first video that you're watching. If you haven't watched my if you haven't watched my labor and delivery and my birth story, then head over there and watch that if you want to know more details. But if you want the super fast version, I'm gonna give it in like 20 seconds. So I was induced with my baby girl at 37 weeks. I had a few complications, like I had premature contractions, Braxton Hicks, since like the beginning of my second trimester. I got steroid shots because we thought she was trying to come early. She had low fluid, elevated Dopplers, so she had basically IUGR. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. And then, so that was the pregnancy, and then in the hospital, I did get an epidural. My labor was 11 hours long. My contractions in the beginning were so like constant that they kind of had to slow them down because her heart rate would drop, which got me these 2 shots that I got in the back of my arms, made me real dizzy, kind of sick, made my heart race. So they were just basically like, if she doesn't straighten up in there, we're gonna have to do a C-section. I had a 3rd degree tear, which got me 50 stitches. He did a 3rd degree episiotomy. I had a postpartum hemorrhage, so I lost way too much blood after delivering her. Because I lost so much blood, I ended up getting 4 units of blood, so 2 separate blood transfusions. And then I one day got up to, while I was in the hospital, got up to go use the bathroom, or to attempt to use the bathroom, and I totally blacked out. So they called a bunch of nurses in. This one nurse literally just picked me up, threw me on the bed. It was a disaster. And now the part that I'm going to start elaborating on, which was I had postpartum retention. I never even thought of postpartum retention because it doesn't happen often, like it's not very common. So that is why I'm making this video, honestly, is just to help some people out there if you are one of the few that deal with postpartum or have dealt with postpartum retention. By that I mean I had a catheter in for 5 weeks after delivery. So for 5 weeks, once I got home, I was stuck with a catheter, and I'm going to explain that experience a little bit, and also just try to give some tips and stuff for 3rd degree tears because it is awful. So the catheter experience. Also in my birth story video, I talk about the traumatic night of putting the catheter in after I had just delivered her that day, because I was so swollen down there. It took 6 nurses and an hour to get a catheter in, which was awful, so bad. Little did I know that I would be having multiple catheters after that. So it did not stop with that night. I honestly completely lost track of how many catheters that I had because it was just so many. I had multiple catheters in the hospital, and then I couldn't, like each day I was not able to pee. Like I just couldn't pee. I was so swollen, and like my bladder just felt numb. Like everything down there just felt numb, on the inside, not the outside. So I wish everything on the outside felt numb. I ended up coming home with the catheter, which I was super discouraged by. Like this was the most discouraging thing ever. I was just so upset because it was like almost Christmas, and I was like, I don't want to be carrying around a catheter for Christmas. Like it was such a pain. But thankfully they did give me a leg bag. It's exactly what it says. You just strap it. It's just the bag that I actually have one that I can show you guys. We're getting fancy here. So it just looks like this. It's just like the catheter part that goes, it's upside down, from your urethra. Just plugs into this part, and you just take this bag and this little strap and you can strap it to your thigh. So, excuse my sweatpants, but just looked like this. Like I could just strap it to my thigh here, which was better than an actual like carrying a bag around. So you might ask, why do you have a leg bag at your house? Because I had these things for so many weeks. I can't remember how many catheters I ended up having because I had so many. I went back every single week, drove over an hour every single week to try to see if I would urinate on my own. But this was the process every single week. It was, I came home with a catheter, wore it for a few days or however long the doctor told me to, and then I would take out my own catheter at my house and drive there and then try to pee, and then usually I couldn't, so then another catheter was inserted, and we just kept repeating this week after week after week. I'm telling you, I tried every trick from, everybody was like, turn on water while you try. They were like, I forget what else they said. Put your hand in cold water, try to bear down, do all this different stuff, and it just wasn't working. It was like the nerves had just had so much damage, I guess. Obviously it wasn't permanent, but I was swollen and bruised, and I could feel that. It got so bad that my OBGYN that I had been going to each week, he was finally like, okay, I'm sending you to a urologist. Within 2 weeks, I think, 2 weeks of seeing this urologist, I was finally able to pee on my own. So I'm telling you what worked, because I had, like, whenever I told people what it was that actually allowed me to be able to pee, they were like, I have never heard of that before. So if you are struggling with postpartum retention, mention this to your doctor. See if he'll let you do this if they haven't already. If you haven't already tried this, mention this, because this is what worked if you're having the same problems as me. So, like I showed you, this is obviously just what's on the outside. What he had me do was, instead of having this bag, we did away with the bag, because your bladder is not getting used to filling. It's not using its muscles anymore. So he just leaves the catheter in you, your urethra, and you have the tube that comes out, and you just plug it, and you allow your bladder to fill and get that sensation back again. And then you just unplug it from the catheter and just drain it yourself. So that way it's not constantly emptying into a bag. It's allowing you to fill your bladder and then empty it, but with a catheter, because I wasn't able to do it on my own. I know that a lot of people were like wondering when I got my catheter out, or if I still had my catheter in, and the verdict was 5 weeks. It took me 5 weeks to get my catheter out and be able to pee on my own. So never thought that would be an issue. I know that although it's rare, there's got to be somebody out there who still has been through that or is going through that. So I hope that this video helps you. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Next, I was going to talk about my 3rd-degree tear and just something that I did that helped with that as well. And I'm not like a huge medicine person. Like, even like with a headache, I usually just, I don't know, just tough it out, just wait for it to go away. But this was not that time. There was times when I would just wake up and my husband would be in there with me, and I'm just sobbing because I can't get comfortable. It doesn't matter what I do, like, I can't relieve the pain. Like, the pain will not go away. No matter how much medication I took, it just kind of dulled it a little bit. It never took it away completely. I couldn't, like, when I stood up, there was so much pressure, so that was painful. When I sat down, that was obviously painful, because I'm sitting on 50 stitches, and then I couldn't like lay down very well and prop my feet up because I had a catheter. And if you know anything about a catheter, the bag that your urine is emptying into has to be below the level of your bladder. So couldn't really prop my feet up, which also led to my feet getting swollen. So when you're at the hospital, and especially when you have an episiotomy of any sort, these are what the hospital gives you. They're these ice pack pads. You just snap them, like you break them and then shake them up and they get really cold. And these were amazing in the hospital, just because like you can adjust your bed in a certain way to where it's just more comfortable, but you don't have a hospital bed when you get home. So these began to get very uncomfortable because they're so thick. I mean, look how thick that is. So trying to sit, and they're like lumpy too. I mean, they're not smooth. Sorry for all that noise. They're lumpy, they're not smooth. So to sit on that with 50 stitches was not fun at all. Once I got home, I was like, okay, I've got to find something different because this is so painful to sit down. It's just so thick and rough. It was really painful. So I had seen all these padsicle things. And so, I mean, it's basically like that, but I gotta open my pad. But what I did was I just took like a regular pad like this, and this is kind of a funny story. This is what I used on them. This is aloe, which I know you can get in the form of not a massive jug, but all those have, like all of the little bottles of aloe and stuff have alcohol in them, and I was terrified to put any alcohol down there. So me and my mom and my sister were here one night and we were searching, like, is there any just like plain, like straight up natural aloe with no alcohol in it? And this is all they had. So this is what we got. And all I did with that was I took this little syringe thing and I would just draw up some of this in here, and I would just drip it all, like I would pretty much soak this whole pad, and then just fold it back up like this, and then I would put it in the freezer. And the reason this felt so much better is, first of all, you can take it straight out of the freezer. And I was afraid like maybe it would stick, you know, like when you touch ice, sometimes it like rips your skin. I was afraid that it was going to do that, but because it's like completely natural aloe and stuff, it did not do that. So I just folded this up, put it in the freezer, and then whenever I wanted it, I could take it straight out of the freezer and put it on, which was it felt so much better. And it's so thin that it wasn't like these massive things. Which I know this is a really small pad. You can obviously get bigger ones, but they're still thinner than that one. And I could actually sit down, and it was so cool, and like just made it feel so much better. Another good thing to do for 3rd-degree tears, probably just any tears in general, if you're stitched down there at all, is sitz baths. I just put some Epsom salts in the bottom, put really warm water in it, and then I hung a tack on my wall so that I could hang the bag up. So there's a tip if you're like don't want to hold your bag there forever for your sitz bath. I just put a little tack on the wall and hung the bag on the wall right beside the toilet. So that's also very good for healing your stitches. I should have done them more, but I did do them some. So those were really the 3 main things I wanted to get out in this video, was the catheter experience and just the fact that if you're going through postpartum retention and it feels like you're the only one in the world, you're not, and it will get better. It really will. People told me that and I was like, I don't believe you. I don't even believe you. But it will get better. It will heal. And mention that to your urologist if they haven't tried that, because that is the key to what worked for me. So it was just that, and then the beautiful aloe pads and the sitz baths. So those are my 3 main things that I would give you as like tips. Now for the kind of like emotional, mental part, I would say number one is trust your body. If something's not right, like I said earlier, I'm not a huge medicine taker, so they really had to get me to take my medicine. But at that point you're in so much pain, and you can't even function whenever you're in that much pain. So take the pain medication. It's not, because it was some pretty hardcore stuff, and I was like, I'm pumping, which they told me it was fine to do while I was pumping, but it was just in my head. I was like, I'm pumping, I don't want it to affect her, which it didn't. So just take the pain medication. If you know your limits, you know your body best. So listen to your body, take your medicine, and then also don't feel bad for resting. Like I mentioned in my birth video, I felt like I was missing out on a bunch of her stuff because I was literally just trying to come back to life and heal myself. But you have to heal yourself before you can take care of your baby. That's just how it is. I could not take care of her if I didn't take care of myself. So that is the biggest thing that I can say, is take your rest. If somebody offers to let you go take a nap, go take a nap. She's a newborn, they just sleep mostly. So, and then once you get up from your nap, do your skin to skin time. And that is so special. Don't skip out on the skin to skin time. That made me feel like $1 million whenever I was going through all of that. Let people help you. I know it's hard, especially as soon as you step into that mom role. It's you have to take care of everything, but you can't. So don't try to. If you have help, if you have people that can help you, just let them help you. Especially a lot of our people meal prepped for us, and if you're looking for an idea for somebody that is pregnant, to help them, meal prep for them. Ask them what kind of dinners they like and make them dinner and bring it to them for the first week. I cannot tell you how helpful that was. We did not have to worry about dinner. We didn't have to worry about food. We had everything we needed, and we were so thankful for that. That was such a huge blessing and such a huge weight off of our shoulders. So no matter what end of the spectrum you're on, whether you're trying to help somebody who's just had a baby or you just had a baby, do all the things for them. Make them dinner, help them with their laundry, help them clean their house, and also accept the help, because you won't have it forever, and just take it. Just accept it. You have to heal before you can take care of your baby. So, and I know I mentioned in my birth video also that I had a lot of, there was just a lot spiritually also that I dealt with, especially with the catheter experience, because I was just so hopeful every time I came back home with a catheter. But I just remember the day before, the day that I got my catheter out and I could pee on my own. I just remember the day before just fully being like, okay, Lord, I know that you have my best interest in mind, and no matter what the outcome is, whether I have this for another week, whether I have this for another several weeks, whatever it is, I know that you have my best in mind, and I trust you, and I am happy either way, because the Bible says to count it all joy when you go through all these hardships and things, because it's producing endurance in you, which is making you perfect in the end, just like Jesus. So I just took that and ran with it, and I just accepted, no matter what his plan was, that it was the right one and it was the best one. And the next day, I was able to pee on my own. And that's not to say that there weren't moments that I put my trust in him earlier and still had ended up with a catheter, but I have to mean what I say. And if I say that I trust him, then I have to trust him. And even though a few times that meant that I still had the catheter, still went home with it, was still struggling, that he was going to make it all work out in the end, and he truly has. And everybody says hindsight is 20/20, which is true. Finally, just being able to see where God was in all of the struggles and all of the hardships and the very, very low moments. I had some very low moments, as most new moms do postpartum. I actually, when I went for my 6-week follow-up, they give you a little questionnaire for postpartum depression, and that was the day that I was able to pee, and so, or that was the week, I think, after I was able to pee. So I had been happy, like I had been so happy and just thankful, and just felt like I could run a marathon. And I got to my 6-week postpartum appointment and filled out that questionnaire. You know, I was like, I'm not depressed, like I'm good. And I ended up failing it by 1 point. Failing it meaning like they would like for you to get a 7 or less, meaning you don't have postpartum depression, and I got an 8. So that was kind of a mental battle for me for a second, just because I feel strong. It's so hard for me to explain this. I feel strongly both ways. In one way, I felt so happy, like I had been so happy that whole week because I was free from that catheter, felt like a human again, like I could do all the things. And so there was this part of me that was like, I'm not going to let this piece of paper define my happiness. You know, if I feel like I'm happy, then I'm not going to like get all in my head because this paper said that I'm depressed. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I did really kind of search myself and was like, okay, there are some things that I'm struggling with, and I didn't want to admit that there were things that I was struggling with. I did end up talking to, you know, close friends and stuff about it, but it's just like there were definitely still some things I had to give to Jesus, that I was trying to take care of on my own. Just things that I was sad about, and at this point trying to take it all on myself. Like when Cameron got home, I felt bad for asking him to do things around the house or to help me with her because he had been at work all day. So there were just things that I had to sort out and work through, and I did, and the Lord has been so gracious to me and blessed me with the best husband and partner ever and the best family. I am here, I'm finally here and able to count it all joy and to just look back and see where God really was in all of that. So if you are still in the middle of it, let me just encourage you and tell you that there is an end to it. Everything, like the things that you're experiencing, they are temporary. There is an end and there is a solution. And I can tell you that it's time definitely to heal your body. Definitely patience. You have to have patience with yourself because these things don't heal overnight. So patience is a huge thing. And of course, Jesus, who gives it all to you, gives you that patience and the strength to get through everything. So put your trust in Him, rely on Him, and let people help you. Recognize the things that you do need to talk to somebody about. Just take care of yourself, whether that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever. Of course, I also recommend eating as healthy as you can, and once you are able to work out and just get outside and out of the same 4 walls, because that was a huge struggle for me, was just being in the same 4 walls. Just be around people, even if they have to come to you, that's fine in the beginning as well, but try to get out, try to be around people that you love. Just keep trusting in the Lord. Really quick, I don't know why, but I just like seeing people's postpartum bellies just because I think it's so crazy how your body is. Like, you have a whole child in there and then your body just like just goes back. So I was going to show you my belly. I still have the little line. Cameron says that he thinks it's cute. I also had to take my belly button ring out, so I ended up with that scar as well. But I think that I thought that I would be all, stressed about how my body was after, but honestly, just this little line here just kind of reminds me of the whole thing that the Lord just brought me through. So don't be discouraged. Just work towards your goals, and just use it as a reminder and a testimony. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's been a while, but newborns are high maintenance, man. so high maintenance. So thank you guys for bearing with me and being patient. And I know this was another long video, but I really hope it was helpful for you or for somebody you know. Share it with them. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, great week, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, it's so bright.